We thought we were one of the best title contenders like a month and a half ago, and it's like we're not. We're now. Everything's dead.
Welcome to the Saturday Slam and Jam. I'm your host, Andrew Schleck. Go to theathletic.com/NBA show and get The Athletic for a discounted rate. Al, so much good stuff has happened in the NBA, so please tell me all about it.
Well, Andrew, it all started last Friday night when the Knicks continued what has been one of their hottest streaks in recent franchise history, beating the Heat in Miami 122-120. The game came down to the final shot. Julius Randle, who scored 43 in the game, almost lost the ball, but recovered and hit a three while falling sideways out of bounds with only 0.7 seconds remaining on the clock. It was the Knicks' 8th straight win, and they would make it 9 after beating the Celtics in Boston in double overtime just 2 days later. Now, the streak eventually did end at 9, but that was the 8th longest winning streak in New York Knicks franchise history. The run has helped New York escape the play-in for the time being, sitting in 5th and 3.5 games up on the 7th-seeded Heat. Also on Friday, some stuff happened in Memphis, which we will get to later. Yep. On Saturday, it was the Sixers' best win of the season. The Sixers traveled to Milwaukee to face a Bucks team that had won 16 games in a row. Despite being down 18 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter, Philly had cut it to 1 by the 9-minute mark of the fourth. Down the stretch, it was a lot of James Harden, who finished the game with a stat line of 38, 9, and 10. But the biggest shot of the game was from Joel Embiid, who hit a go-ahead three from the top of the key with 42 seconds left. Now, after a couple frustrating losses for the Sixers last week, they have now won 3 in a row and 9 of their last 12. They remain solidly in third in the East, 2.5 games ahead of the Cavs in fourth. On Sunday, Andrew, we got a marquee matchup between the Suns and Mavs in Dallas. KD and Devin Booker combined for 73 of the Suns' 130 points en route to a 4-point win over the Mavs. KD was brilliant in the game, scoring his 37 points on only 17 shots, which included the go-ahead shot with 12 seconds left, a classic KD mid-range jumper over the defense. For the Mavericks, they continue to look for consistency, especially on the defensive end, as they fall to only 3-7 in their last 10 games. That stretch has dropped them to 34-33, 8th in the West, and a game and a half up on the Lakers. The Mavs now enter a stretch with 9 of their next 12 games on the road, and possibly without Luka for a few after he injured his thigh later in the week. Yikes. On Monday, the Boston Celtics continued their late-season trend of losing incredibly close games.
So painful.
So painful. After losing to the Knicks in double overtime on Sunday, which I mentioned, they lost in overtime to the Cavs on the second night of a back-to-back. 4 of Boston's last 10 games have gone to overtime, and one of the games that didn't in that stretch was the game against Philly when Embiid's final heave to tie it up was a split second late. In this game, the Celtics had a chance to end it in regulation when Grant Williams stepped to the line with the game tied at 109 and 0.8 seconds left. Cameras caught Donovan Mitchell and Williams jawing at each other, and you could see Williams say to Mitchell, "I'm going to make both." Hopefully he wasn't referring to the free throws he was about to shoot, because he missed both, which allowed Donovan Mitchell, who scored 40 in the game, to get the win in overtime. On Tuesday, the Lakers got a much-needed win without LeBron, beating the Grizzlies at home 112-103. Things were looking a little bleak for the Lakers when it was announced LeBron would miss at least the next 3 weeks after injuring his foot in a game against the Mavs. But in the 5 games since, the Lakers have gone a respectable 3-2, led by Anthony Davis, who is averaging 34 points and 13.5 rebounds per game since LeBron's injury. While 3-2 might not sound that exciting, it's been enough to get the Lakers up to the 9th spot in the West with 16 games remaining. And those 16 games, it's a pretty favorable schedule the rest of the way. 9 of those 16 are at home, and 2 of the 7 road games are in Houston. On Wednesday, it was Kevin Durant's home debut for the Phoenix Suns. While the game ended in a 31-point blowout win for the Suns over the Thunder, it was not because of KD. Unfortunately, Durant slipped and twisted his ankle during the pregame warm-up. He was ruled out of the game and will be ruled out for several more, as he is not expected to be reevaluated for 2 weeks. The Suns continue their climb up the standings, however, having won 4 in a row, but this next stretch without KD could be a bit challenging. Next 3 games are against the Kings, the Warriors on the road, and the Milwaukee Bucks. Yikes. And finally, on Thursday, we got another classic Kings home game, this time against the previously streaking Knicks. The Kings are completely unable to play boring basketball games, and this was no different. It came down to the final minute with no play bigger than a De'Aaron Fox driving layup where he blew by Josh Hart and met Isaiah Hartenstein at the rim, giving the Kings a 4-point lead with 26 seconds to go. Fox finished with 23 and 7, while Domantas Sabonis posted a 24-point triple-double. The Kings have won 10 of 13 and are now the number 2 seed in the West. What a week it was, Andrew.
What a week indeed. The season is wrapping up, and I thought I would dig into some shooting stats as we kind of close this season down a little bit. And here are 5 shooting stats that you may or may not know. Number 1, did you know that DeAndre Ayton is the best finisher at the rim in the NBA this year?
Really? What's he shooting?
Of players taking at least 5 shots in the restricted area, Ayton is the best, shooting 78.7% in the restricted area this season.
Wow.
That's just insane. The worst, shooting at least 5 or more, is Jalen Green, who is 54% in the restricted area this year. Now, it's hard to judge between Ayton and Green. It's a guard and it's a big. So let's compare him to other guards. John Morant, 60%, SGA, 63%, Anthony Edwards, 63%. Tatum and Brown are both shooting a very nice 69%. Jimmy Butler, 65%, Damian Lillard, 64%, Josh Giddey, 63%, Zach LaVine, 66%. Even Russell Westbrook is 58% in the restricted area. So 54%,
Really?
kind of a big yikes there for Jalen Green. Stat number 2. Did you know that Al Horford is the best corner 3-point shooter in the NBA this year?
Honestly, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I didn't know it, but it doesn't surprise.
Hey, 15 players in the league are shooting 2 or more corner threes per game, and Horford is the best, shooting 49% from the corners this season. It's pretty amazing. The worst, a former Celtic, a current Hornet, Terry Rozier is only shooting 30% from the corners and taking 2 or more per game. Pretty bad. Pretty bad. Next, the mid-range. We all know that Kevin Durant is the mid-range maestro. That's no secret at all. Get well soon, Kevin. But he is so far ahead of the pack with his efficiency in the mid-range. He's shooting 57.5% in the mid-range this season. It's absolutely breathtaking watching him just get to those pull-ups. Of the players taking 3 or more shots in the mid-range per game, and Kevin's taking 7, by the way, the closest percentage is his own teammate, Devin Booker, who's shooting 48%. That's 9 percentage points better. That's like a galaxy apart in efficiency.
That is wild.
The worst mid-range shooter in the NBA, you know who it is? That's shooting at least 3 mid-range jumpers per game?
I don't know.
Giannis.
Is it Dylan Brooks?
No, it's not Dylan Brooks. No. Poor Dylan Brooks. We don't need to pile on them. No, we don't need to pile on the Grizzlies during the segment. Giannis Antetokounmpo is taking 30. He's taking 3 or more, and he's shooting 36%. Kevin Durant is shooting 21% better in the mid-range than Giannis.
Wow.
That's roughly 2 galaxies apart in efficiency.
Wow.
It's insane. Wild. Get well soon, Kevin. We need more Kevin Durant in the NBA. What about catch and shoot, Al? Who's the best catch and shoot guy in the league?
It's got to be my guy, Isaiah Joe.
It is not Isaiah Joe.
Oh, okay.
It is Michael Porter Jr.
Ooh.
Of the players taking at least 5 catch and shoot threes, there are 30 of those guys taking at least 5 catch and shoot shots per game. He's shooting 46% on catch and shoots this season, which is just wild. The worst, another junior, a Kelly Oubre Jr., who's shooting 30.
Tsunami Poppy.
Tsunami Poppy shooting 32% on catch and shoot shots this season. And that's of players taking 5 or more. Pretty brutal and pretty impressive stuff from MPJ, who I don't feel like has gotten a ton of coverage this year from a lot of people, but is having an outstanding season and is one of the big reasons why they're having so much success. And he provides so much spacing. He's been unbelievable. Okay, last one. What about a pull-up J? What about a little Jimbo here? Let's separate these into 2s and 3s. So from 2, it's easily Kevin Durant, right?
Kevin Durant,
He's great. Once he gets to that pull-up around the free throw line, it's money. He's shooting 60% on pull-up 2s. 60%. The worst pull-up shooter in the league that's taking at least 4 pull-ups per game, there's 2 guys. It's Tyler Hero and Paolo Banchero are both shooting 39%. on their pull-up J's from 2. That's 21% less than Kevin Durant. Get well soon, KD. I just can't get over some of these stats from Kevin. They're just unbelievable. And then
I have a guess for 3.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
It's so you're saying the best pull-up shooter
best pull-up from 3. Yeah, best pull-up J from 3.
It's got to be Dame. Is it Dame?
Oh no. No. Don't think as hard. Don't think too hard.
Don't think too hard. It's got to be my guy Isaiah Joe.
No, Al. No. Don't. Now that's thinking way too hard. It's Steph Curry.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right.
The thing about Steph is that his greatness is on full display this season. He's shooting 47.7% on pull-up threes.
Wow.
That is wild. So the next best player in pull-up threes, taking 4 or more pull-up threes. That's where I made the cutoff. It's like, okay, you're taking quite a bit. Like you're taking a lot of pull-up threes. The next best is Tyrese Halliburton, who's shooting 40% on pull-up threes.
Wow, that's super impressive.
That's 7.7% better than the next best. I mean, this is a gulf. This is the Grand Canyon, like away from each other. It is insane. Okay, the worst pull-up shooter taking at least 4 pull-up threes or more in the NBA this year is Boston's own Jason Tatum, who's shooting 29% on pull-up threes this season. That's a big yikes. And listen, just the fact I think that we overlook Steph so much as just like how great he can be. But like that number to me, that blew me away. This, whenever I looked it up, it just absolutely blew me away that Steph is just still that much better and that much further ahead than everybody else. I mean, he truly is the greatest shooter ever and is having a crazy season.
Well, and that's a great lead in to what I'm going to talk about, which I will eventually get to, because the Warriors have been one of the more bizarre teams this season because of things like that. Like Steph is having arguably a career year this year, and they just haven't been able to figure it out. But I want to start by talking about the Kings, because the Kings are good, Andrew. Every game is fun. They've taken the challenge of making the playoffs for the first time in 16 years and turned it into the most entertaining show in the league. The drama with this team isn't even about whether they'll make the playoffs or not at this point. The drama is the games themselves, which are some of the best television I've watched this year. And so with the playoffs now a reality, it's hard not to start thinking ahead with this team. Like, I'm staring at these standings each night this week, and you start to realize there's a very realistic scenario where the Kings could avoid both the Suns and the Nuggets until the conference finals. And you factor in what's going on in Memphis, and all of a sudden the fun Kings story could end up being something a lot bigger. So I'm thinking about this scenario. I'm thinking, okay, there's a reasonable chance they could avoid the Suns. They could avoid the Nuggets. Maybe they avoid the Warriors. That was the third team I thought of. I'm thinking, okay, it'd probably be nice to avoid the Warriors. But let's talk about the Golden State Warriors, and specifically the Golden State Warriors on the road, where they transform into one of the more bizarre teams to watch this season. I watched 2 Warriors road games this week, a loss in OKC and a loss in Memphis. Those were the 7th and 8th straight losses for the Warriors on the road. The Warriors have not won a road game in 38 days. They are 7-26 on the road, which is tied with the Detroit Pistons for the 3rd fewest road wins this season. Again, on the road, the Warriors have the same record as a team that currently has 15 total wins. Now, you can make some excuses. Steph just recently came back from an extended absence. Andrew Wiggins has missed the last 9 games for personal reasons. GP2 is out. They can't play two-way player Anthony Lamb because he's reached his 50-game limit, which means they have to convert him to a full contract, which they can't do until March 13th because they don't currently have an open roster spot. And if you're wondering, wow, has it really gotten to the point where the defending champions sort of need two-way player Anthony Lamb? Yeah, kind of. It kind of has gotten to that point. Even with those excuses, even in games where Steph Curry has played, the guy averaging 36-6 on 50-40-90 shooting, the Warriors are still only 5-16 on the road in games in which Steph played.
Wow.
Now, I've been following the Warriors road struggles throughout the season.
Mhm.
But as the road record continues to get worse and we get closer to the playoffs, it's got to the point where it's moved beyond like a funny little quirk of the season.
Right.
Now I'm staring at this road record wondering, has any playoff team ever been this bad on the road? To answer that question, Andrew, I went back through every team that made the playoffs in the last 2 decades, 160 teams in total. I looked at their road record to figure out, one, have teams with really bad road records made the playoffs before? And two, how did they do once they got there? Now, I chose 16 road wins as a cutoff. That's going 16-25 on the road in an 82-game season, winning fewer than 40% of your road games. So, for example, there have been 18 teams to win the equivalent of 16 road games over the past 2 decades. Of those 18 teams, once they got to the playoffs, 11 were knocked out in round 1, 5 were knocked out in round 2. One, the 2021 Atlanta Hawks, made it all the way to the conference finals.
Yep.
And one more, the 2003 Nets, made it all the way to the finals. The 2003 Nets were the second seed in the East, and their road record was 16-25.
Wow.
So all in all, going 16-25 on the road isn't a complete death knell for your team's postseason chances. There's still some hope, but you really want to win at least 16 road games, because of the 24 playoff teams that won fewer than 16 road games in the regular season, only 3 of those 24 made it out of the first round, and all 3 of those lost in the second round. The worst road record for a playoff team in the last 20 years was 12-29, a record shared by the We Believe Warriors in 2007 and the much less memorable 2008 Atlanta Hawks. Don't really have any thoughts about them. So what does this all mean? Well, first, leaving aside the Warriors for a second, if you're a fan of a playoff team that is hoping to make some noise in the playoffs, you really want to get to 16 road wins. So, for instance, if you're a Cavs fan, if you're a Heat fan, that means going at least 2-6 in your remaining road games, because both of those teams currently have 14 road wins. If you're a Mavericks fan, that means going at least 4-5 in your remaining road games to get to that 16 win number. And for Grizzlies fans like us, that means going 500 in your remaining road games, because they currently only have 12 road wins.
Wow.
But what about the Warriors? Well, first of all, even if the Warriors won all 8 of their remaining road games, that would only get them to 15 road wins.
Wow.
No playoff team with 15 or fewer road wins in the last 2 decades has gotten past the second round, and only 3 of the 24 have made it past the first round. But beyond that, let's assume the Warriors actually make the playoffs. They need to go at least 5-3 in their final 8 road games to avoid having the worst road record of any playoff team in the last 20 years.
Wow.
Listen, I know it's nearly impossible to write off this Warriors team. It feels wrong, and you don't have to do it. I'm not.
I tried to do it last week.
Yeah, but a lot of people have tried, and then you see them play a good game, and you're like, well, maybe they'll be fine. I'm not asking you to write them off, but I do think it's worth putting into perspective just how unique it would be historically if this team does end up having success in this year's playoff, because the Warriors on the road this season are terrible. They're like the worst. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to make the playoffs. Maybe they won't, but I'm assuming they're going to make the playoffs. That will be the worst road record of any team. Any team. Think of all the bad teams that have made the playoffs in the East, during the 2000s.
Yeah.
This would be the worst road record of any of those teams.
Yeah, that is wild. The Warriors at home this year, they have the third ranked defense in the league, 108.1. Only teams that are better are our Memphis Grizzlies and the Cleveland Cavaliers. On the road, do you know what they are this year?
Their defense, is it bottom 10?
They're 28th.
That's why.
An 11-point difference between the road and home. 119.3. 28th. The only teams that are worse on the road than them are the Spurs and the Rockets. Those are the only 2 teams that are worse than them on the road. On the road, Detroit, better. Indiana, better. Dallas, better. Portland, who's just been horrible on defense, better. I mean, that is really atrocious.
It's amazing. And like, if you look at lineup data, the Warriors starting unit is still far and away the best.
Throw me that stat.
Lineup.
Sure.
Like, that's always going to exist. You can look at their home record. They're 27-7. Like, there are still so many reasons that make it hard to be completely out on this team, especially if, like, in your head, you're thinking, okay, they're going to get Wiggins back. GP2 is going to come back for the playoffs. Like, everything's just going to fall into place. Maybe it will. But if it does fall into place, we'll look back on this season as like a historical anomaly.
Yeah.
If they are successful in the playoffs.
Yeah. Speaking of historical anomalies, we're about to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies right after this quick break.
Today's show is brought to you by Indochino. Visit Indochino.com and use the promo code AthleticCBB to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. Wedding planning is intimidating, but finding the perfect suit just shouldn't be. Indochino makes it easy to get a fully customizable suit right from home. I personally got some custom tailored shirts from Indochino recently, and they fit me perfectly. They become my go-to button-up. It's hard to find off-the-rack clothes when you have broad shoulders and long arms, guys. Well, Indochino will let you decide the suit you've always wanted to have and fine-tune every single detail. From lapels to linings, monograms to pocket flaps, you can get whatever you want at Indochino with suits starting at just $499 and fitted shirts at $89. It's bespoke without the premium price tag. You just set up your measurement profile on their website, choose the fabrics and customizations that you want, and then you get them delivered right to your door. When planning your wedding, get a suit as unique as you with Indochino. Go to Indochino.com and use the code AthleticCBB to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. That's INDOCHINO.com. Promo code AthleticCBB.
All right, Andrew, it is time for the Wheel of Fandom, our weekly segment where we spin a digital wheel. It lands on a team, and we become fans of that team for a week. And this week, the Wheel of Fandom landed on the Memphis Grizzlies. That's right. The wheel physically landed on the Grizzlies and crushed them. In no particular order, here's a list of things that happened to the Grizzlies this week. Dylan Brooks got his 16th technical of the season, forcing him to miss a game. Brandon Clark tore his Achilles tendon, ending his season and likely a large chunk of next season. Steven Adams missed his 19th consecutive game, and instead of good news about his imminent return, we learned that he would be out for at least another 4 weeks following a stem cell injection in his knee. And then Grizzlies star Ja Morant streamed a video from a Colorado establishment called Shotgun Willie's, where he appeared to flash a gun. The video led to Morant stepping away from the team. Initially, it was reported that Ja would miss 2 games. A subsequent report said they would be at least an additional 4 games. Meanwhile, on the court, the Grizzlies went 1-3 this week, but ended the week on a nice note with a 21-point home win over the Golden State Warriors. The Grizz are 39-26, third in the West per cleaning the glass. They are 10th in offense, second in defense. Andrew, if the Grizzlies are our favorite team, who is our guest?
Oh, no. Oh, Keith Parrish from Fast Break Breakfast, the Daily Ding, and also the Grits and Grinds podcast. It's a podcast about the Memphis Grizzlies. Keith, are you okay?
Thank you for asking, Andrew. Before I answer, I would just like to say, screw you, Wheel of Fandom. You shouldn't play with fate, guys. Haven't we learned? You don't leave anything up to fate. I'm doing as well as can be considered. I mean, you didn't even highlight the painful manner in which these 3 losses went down. Like, it's not just
that's true. Yeah, all these
like
quarter leads.
They had spectacular fourth quarter losses. You can cherry pick a stat, which I did. If you highlight the specific time frames in the fourth quarters of the 3 losses, they were outscored 70-17 over like a 22-minute span. I'm taking exactly 7.5 minutes of each fourth quarter. It was like 24-2 against the Clippers. I can't remember what the Nuggets exact was. I mean, yeah, the Nuggets had like a 16-0 fourth quarter run. The Lakers outscored the Grizzlies 24-9 to end the game. You know, everything was terrible. I blacked out briefly when Ox was listing all the terrible things. Did you also say that Draymond Green released a very painful podcast?
Don't worry. Just wait.
I have a question about
to the
that.
quick of like, everyone's like if the Grizzlies had not won against the Warriors on Thursday, like I just released a Grits and Grinds episode where it was basically like, if we hadn't won that game, just like Dylan Brooks, just like, can he show back up to work too? Are we going to be missing 2 guys who have to lead the team? Like it was, but luckily they did. And we're not as at the nadir. I recorded an episode. You guys will appreciate this. I recorded an episode yesterday before the Warriors game.
Yeah.
That I didn't release. I was like, you know what? This is just because I was like, you guys remember when like 4 days ago, I was like, hey, this is the nadir. All right.
Yeah, I know.
Things aren't great. It's going to get better. And then I was like, emergency podcast update. This is going to be.
I don't think it's going to get worse. A day later, and I was like, "Oh no, Keith! Oh,
yeah,
no. He's so hopeful. It's so sad."
Yeah. I mean, like again, I didn't even release like the next follow up to that one where it's like this is because like there's no. I know we're getting into it now. Like there's no silver lining to Brandon Clark being out for 12 months. Like there's been other years. I'm not ever asking for someone to get injured, but there's been other years where like when someone gets in foul trouble, I'm like, oh yeah, this is we get to play Brandon Clark now.
Right.
You know,
right.
Exactly.
Like
there's been times where I'm like, you know what? I would rather close some games with this guy over Jonas Valanciunas or whoever it was in Grizzlies games past. There's no upside. Like there's no like, oh, now we get to play what? Like, I guess we can develop Roddy Moore. Like, no, we wanted to win a title. Yeah. We thought we were one of the best title contenders like a month and a half ago. And it's like, we're not, everything's dead. So circling back, screw you, Wheel of Fandom.
Let's start with Ja. It's not been a good week for Grizzly star Ja Morant. There's been a series of troubling stories going back to last summer that seemed to come to a breaking point this week, leading to his absence from the team. Considering everything that's happened this week, what is the current mindset of the fan base? Has this week shaken your belief in the future of this team, or are you viewing this as more of like a blip?
I think it's so bizarre. The story is so bizarre and unexpected, where it's hard as a fan to be like, even comprehend it. Because I think the entire fan base, if you ask them, is Ja Morant going to play again this season? We're all saying, well, yeah. Because I can't think of a time where a guy who was an all-star and leading a team that was going to have home court advantage in the playoffs had like an off the court thing and then took time away. And of course, there's so many questions we don't know about like what is actually going on behind the scenes as far as like the team instigated him probably leaving as like a form of punishment, although it specifically is not a punishment. And then what's the league going to do? So like the mindset of the fan base is kind of like, I don't know, we're probably still in a denial and confusion and a blind optimism phase of like, he's going to come back, but we don't actually know if he's going to come back. As far as like affecting the long-term outlook for the Grizzlies, I guess personally it hasn't for me. I mean, like the loss of Brandon Clark next year, like that's a long-term outlook type thing, but it's specifically with Ja Morant and the core of having Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant, all of whom are incredible, all of whom are still extremely young. I don't think it is like a long-term detractor or like it's not taking away our hope for like what could be with this core.
Yeah, you just like won't let yourself go there yet.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know what again. I mean, it's like unprecedented to be like.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been NBA players who have gotten in trouble legally, and there's been NBA players who have done things they shouldn't have done with firearms and been punished by the league. But they're, like the Gilbert Arenas thing that everyone keeps comparing or like throwing out or incorrectly being like a 50-game suspension. You're like, what? The Gilbert Arenas thing is way different than what the Ja Morant thing is. So we're still like, I guess we're all still thinking like, well, he's going to come back at some point, even if the league does do something. Like we're assuming he's going to be back this season just because we don't know. We don't know specifically what Ja's going through and, what his mental health is like and where he's going to be prepared to play basketball or when he's going to be prepared to play basketball. And then once he is officially like, I'm good enough to play, then will those still be punishment or suspension? And so, yeah, who knows?
So you mentioned this earlier. This was a big week for fans of Dylan Brooks, Draymond Green beef, because after Brooks expressed his dislike of Draymond and the Warriors, Draymond responded, saying, among other things, if you ever wondered why Memphis is not ready to compete for a championship, look no further than this idiot right here. They're actually depending on this guy to help them win a championship. And he says his game is cool. Quite frankly, that just shows how little you know about basketball. And yet you're running around talking about dynasty. The dynasty starts after you, not with you. Keith, do you think there is a kernel of truth in what Draymond said about Brooks, or do you think most Grizz fans consider Brooks a locked-in piece of this Grizzlies core moving forward and that someone they should pay this summer, like absolutely pay this summer?
To answer the second part of the question, no, there isn't a consensus or a majority of, I think, Grizzlies fans who are like, oh yeah, this is, Dylan Brooks is definitely a piece. This season, he's become more of an acquired taste, even than he was in previous seasons. Just he's, I mean, I don't know what you want to call it. He's been shooting terribly, and he has loud bad games, where he breaks a lot of shots, and he's a very inefficient player. But I've always maintained like he's an important piece to what the Grizzlies do, and you see it in the game on Thursday night against the Warriors. He guards Steph Curry, and then he also at times he'll have to guard. Like he guarded Karl Anthony Towns in the series against the Timberwolves last year, and he guards Zion Williamson particularly kind of well, and he can guard everyone. He guards 1 through 4. He guards the best player every single night on the other team, and most Grizzlies fans have trouble accepting this. Like he's right now playing a career high in minutes, but he's averaging the fewest shot attempts per game since his second season, and like it's one of those things where like he's shooting less and less, but of course he's also thrust himself into national prominence even more with his comments, and the Grizzlies they've been given exposure this year, and maybe just the novelty of like, hey, ESPN wants to cover us. Why don't I give them a juicy quote? And so like Dylan's always been off kilter and hilarious with the things he says, and with no self-awareness about many of the things he says. But like, that's something we normally love about NBA players, like what in the world is he talking about? To answer the first part of your question, is there a kernel of truth in what Draymond said? Certainly. Yeah, there is. I do think he's important to the Grizzlies. I don't think he's like, I'm not in the you can't win with Dillon Brooks camp. Like the Grizzlies have been quite good with Dillon. They've been notably better with him on the court every single year he's been on the Grizzlies, at least for the past 4, I think. Like they've been way better when he's on the court. And so I think having that guy who can guard the other team's best player and then provide offense if needed sometimes. I mean, usually you hope it's better than this. Also, Draymond, I mean, you didn't say the quotes. He said lots of things that are flatly not true about himself particularly. Like after the game against the Grizzlies on Thursday, Draymond's like, yeah, the difference between me and Dillon is I only get technicals when I want to. Like, yeah. You think that's true? Also, Dillon quickly pointed out like Draymond accused Dillon of Dillon's teammates not enjoying playing with him, which again, I don't know any fact to that. Also, like Dillon quickly pointed out, I don't get in physical altercations with my teammates, which is, again, it's a fair point, Dillon. Score one for Dillon. I mean, I know the Warriors specifically don't like Dillon Brooks. Like, actually, Andrew, you were there last summer. We were together, and I talked to Andre Iguodala, and he said similar things to what Draymond Green said. Like, Dillon Brooks is holding you back. Like that's the reason, that the Warriors aren't that good. But I mean, the Grizzlies aren't, like a contender in the Warriors people's minds. But like, for me, most of that goes just back to a distaste that this team clearly does not like Dillon Brooks. By the way, Andre Iguodala has not beaten the Memphis Grizzlies since he was on the Memphis Grizzlies. Wow. He's 0-3 in games that Iguodala has played.
Interesting.
Dillon Brooks averages 21 points in those games against Andre Iguodala.
In your face, Andre.
Also interesting,
face, Andre,
is that looking at the current standings, Memphis is in 3rd and Golden State is currently in 6th. Who knows how it'll end up? But that would be fun.
Well, the NBA is scripted, so that's probably what we're going to get.
Assuming the Grizzlies do keep Brooks this summer, do you have in your mind like a expectation for what his contract number will be? Because I just like can't figure out what Dillon Brooks' next contract will look like.
I mean, when you see what the Joe Harris's, Duncan Robinson's, Kelly Oubre's of the world get paid, it's like, it's going to be more than that. I believe his extension number was basically they could sign him for like $15 million a year, and like there's no way he's taking that. I mean, like if he ends the year still basically shooting 37% or whatever, maybe that'll really tank his market. But like, I just think wings who can play, who can defend, make, $20 million a year, basically, like the Keldon Johnson extension type things. And DeAndre Hunters of the world, the Bogdanoviches. It's like Dillon provides a value. And if I'm a Grizzlies fan, I'd be like thrilled if he somehow played so poorly that he like got himself locked into what his extension number would be. Like, I just think with, and the cap keeps going up, but like starters and guys who can defend, wings with some size, which he has, like They make $20 million a year, basically, as a starting point. When you see like what offense only sixth men, like your Jordan Pooles, when they're getting $30 million a year, or Tyler Hero's $30 million a year. I mean, I guess if you pulled a lot of NBA fans and players, like they might value the offensive creation of those type players way more than just a scrappy, inefficient defender type. But I don't know. I would kind of guess NBA front offices value those somewhat similarly. I don't think Dylan's getting $30 million a year, but like, I think anything around $20 million per year is just what a team's going to pay for a guy who can be in like your top 7 of your rotation and guard the NBA's best players on a night-to-night basis.
So we mentioned Brandon Clark. He tore his Achilles this week and will miss the rest of the season and likely a big chunk of next. For those who don't watch Memphis regularly, can you explain why Brandon Clark's loss is so important to this team going forward?
Yeah, for me, and this might be a minority opinion, but for me, Brandon Clark is part of the Grizzlies' ceiling, as in their ideal best fit is not necessarily with Steven Adams in there. They've been great with Steven Adams on the court the last couple of years, but you saw it in the postseason last year. When everyone was fully healthy, they voluntarily would use Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson Jr. as like the front court pairing to close games with. The lineup data, whenever Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson Jr. play together, has always been incredible. They're like this perfect pairing where they can both guard on the perimeter. One of the limitations with Steven Adams, like, he can't switch and you basically have to do drop defense. And like Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson Jr. are so versatile and are so good at guarding on the perimeter that like that front court thing was this like elite key they could go to. It was their death lineup of things that like other teams can't handle this. And also just losing Brandon Clark, if you do want to change up your strategy like they did in the first round series against the Timberwolves last year, where they said like, you know what, we're not going to play Steven Adams. We're going to try something different. And in that series, Brandon Clark averaged over 16 points per game and over 9 rebounds per game. And the Grizzlies probably do not beat the Timberwolves if Brandon Clark is not there. The Timberwolves also probably don't trade for Rudy Gobert if Brandon Clark doesn't absolutely wreck them in the postseason last year on the offensive glass. And so not having that, all of a sudden you've lost like, oh, we have one fewer avenues to victory. Like we now have to have Steven Adams. And now with this news of Steven Adams and his knee, we don't know what's going on. Like, oh, well, now the Grizzlies have lost all their above average rebounders for their position. And they've also lost one of their only, guys who is an efficient scorer. Yeah, he's not a shooter, but like makes 67% of his shots and he's this vertical threat. You lost one of your only vertical threat guys on the team. So it's like you've lost, I think you've become easier to scheme against because there are fewer things that the Grizzlies can now throw at their opponent. And it's basically, I think most teams are going to say, well, this is what we're going to face. It's going to be Steven Adams or Xavier Tillman. It's two relatively similar in what they do. Big men, they no longer have the option of unlocking this like absolutely elite defensive front court that also, by the way, smokes team on offense because of the perfect pairing. So that's why I think, again, the Brandon Clark loss, you're like, it's a guy plays 19, 20 minutes a game. But for me, it's a huge blow. It like if none of this stuff was happening with Ja Morant, if Steven Adams was totally healthy, I think it's like a big time reduction in the chances the Grizzlies could win multiple series in the playoffs.
So I wanted to ask you about some of their young guys, because last summer they drafted 4 players: Jake LaRavia, David Roddy, Kennedy Chandler, and Vince Williams Jr. Also added rookie Kenneth Lofton Jr. as a two-way guy. All these players were Twitter draft darlings, but I'm interested in where Grizzlies fans stand on this rookie class now. How would you rank them in terms of your belief in them being a part of this Grizzlies future?
I mean, I can't speak for other Grizzlies fans. It's been a weird adjustment period to basically, I still haven't gotten over it, kind of, that they added so many rookies to the squad this year, where it's like we won 56 games last year. We took the Warriors to 6 games and we were ahead in 3 of the fourth quarters of the games we lost. Like, we're on the precipice. We have this very young team and we think Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane are all going to get better. And like this year specifically, Jaren Jackson Jr. has taken a big leap forward and Desmond Bane has taken a big leap forward. And the response of the front office to be like, hey, what if we also develop 5 guys while we're doing this? It's like, oh, that's bold. So like, I like what Roddy has done at times this year. And so like, could he be part of the Grizzlies dynasty that starts maybe after Dylan Brooks leaves, as Draymond alludes to? Yeah, maybe. But like, none of the rookies have done anything where you're like, oh, that guy's a keeper. or like,
okay,
oh, that guy's going to be better than the guy we got rid of.
yeah.
You know, like, so it's hard to say. I'm not like super fired up, especially now that you've lost 2 players to injury and John Morant's away from the team. Where if you're using what 20% of your guaranteed salaries on players who you don't think are going to help you in the regular season, and then you lose 2 other players, it's now like, what are we doing here? And by the way, our 2-way spots, which have been this, avenue that teams can get help, can get some regular season help. They don't even play their two-way guys in Vince Williams and Kenneth Lofton Jr. Those guys don't play regular minutes. So it's been a very strange, quizzical, like, I know you guys hit home runs, front office, constantly in the draft, and like you discover guys through your 2-way contracts. Like you discovered John Conchar, and like not that long ago, like Yuta Watanabe was a 2-way player. And he's like, these are useful NBA players. So you're good at finding useful NBA players, but also this dual paths of compete for a title and develop. I think we need to start leaning more into the compete for a title. So yeah, I'm like the rookie class. It's interesting that they've gone for that. If any of them is that long-winded monologue I just went on to explain my feelings towards them, it's complicated. Where I'm like, I'm not done with any of them, where I'm like, Laravia has shown stuff. He doesn't play much anymore. I mean, Kennedy Chandler is an undersized athletic point guard. It's like that's what our star is. Why are we? He's like 2 years younger or 3 years younger than John Morant, I think technically, but it's like John Morant's going to be here for 10 years, we think. So yeah, I have very mixed negative feelings about the rookie class. It's not their fault. I want to tell the rookies it's not their fault. It's where we were as a team and my attachment to some of the players we got rid of.
Yeah. The thing I know about Keith is a man of the present. He's not a man of the future.
I have a hard time. That's my own fault. Like I didn't see Desmond Bane getting this good. I would have traded him for Bradley Beal 2 years ago. That's on me.
Yeah.
Okay. That's on me. I was wrong there.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question. Let's end with something that may or may not be positive. So with many guys out, there's going to be some opportunities for other Grizzlies players to get some playing time. Is there a player or two that you think could have like a mini breakout session during this period of time?
I mean, the answer's got to be Santi Aldama. I mean, that's the only. Yeah. Earlier I said there's no silver lining, and I truly feel that way. There's no like, oh, let's let Roddy and Laravia cook. Santi Aldama has had a pretty nice season. He's developing very, very nicely. He's shown a lot of promise as far as like a hybrid 4/3. His shooting has been really, really good. He has some like fun flair. He dunks the ball backwards a lot. He has a lot of reverse jams, which is just again, it's good having the flair.
Fun.
It's fun. So like he's going to be featured out of necessity. He's now the 3rd big man, and we only have 3 guys who are tall on the whole team. And so he's going to play a lot, and he's shown a lot already this season. So the idea of like, I wish we didn't have to depend on him. It's kind of where I'm at, because they do. But one thing that I think it will be fun, we'll be seeing Santi be given the freedom to play 25, 27, 28 minutes every single night, and to see if he keeps living up to the moment. Because so far he really has seized the opportunity given to him this season, and he's been a bright spot for the Grizzlies this year.
Well, Keith, thank you so much for answering all of our Grizzlies questions on a tough week. It is now time to play Andrew versus the Beat Grizz edition. Now, every week we play Andrew versus the Beat. It's a trivia show where Andrew goes head to head with a beat writer, or in this case, Keith Parrish, host of the Grits and Grinds podcast. Now, Keith, you've played this before. You know how it works. Yeah. 8 questions, all about the Grizz. You're going to pick a number between 1 and 8. It'll correspond to a question, maybe easy, maybe hard. If you get it right, you'll get at least 2 points. If you get it wrong, Andrew will have a chance to steal for 1. We'll go back and forth till all the questions have been asked and answered. So all I need from you is a number between 1 and 8.
Go with 5.
Question number 5. Ja Morant has had 53 career 30-point games, which is a franchise record. In fact, the next closest Grizzly in franchise history only had 25 30-point games. Who is that Grizzly?
Wow. I'm going to say Sharif Abdul-Rahim.
Sharif Abdul-Rahim. That is incorrect. Andrew, you have a chance to steal.
Oh boy. Gosh. Zebo?
Andrew? That is also incorrect. Although, now that Keith said Sharif Abdurrahim, I am wondering whether the stat head filter is only picking up Memphis Grizzlies and not Vancouver Grizzlies.
I think it should include the Vancouver.
It should? Okay. Because the answer was Rudy Gay, who had 25.
Oh, wow.
And Mike Conley had 24. So, I mean, but I'm going to look that up as we're going on. So I'll get back to you. Andrew, you have control of the board?
Number 1.
Oh, question number 1, a fun one. Per Cleaning the Glass, the last time Memphis had an above-average half-court offense was the 2014-15 season.
Wow.
14 players played at least 1 minute in the playoffs for that Grizzlies team, and we're going to try to name them all. So how this works, Andrew, you're going to give me a name, then Keith will give me a name. We'll go back and forth until one of you stumbles. So these are players who played for the Grizzlies in the 2015 playoffs.
Tony Allen.
That is correct. Keith.
All right. Marc Gasol.
That is correct. Andrew.
Zebo.
That is correct. Keith.
Mike Conley.
Great. You've gotten all the easy ones. Keep going. Andrew.
I think Jeff Green was on that team.
He was, Andrew. Keith.
Let's go with trying to leave some for Andrew so we can accomplish this feat.
Oh wow, he's taunting you, Andrew.
No, this is
he knows them all. He's
No, I don't. Like honestly, I'm trying to remember. Like, all right, which was the one where so and so got suspended? I don't want to fall on my face. Let's do Costa Kufos.
Costa Kufos. That is correct, Andrew.
What about Courtney Lee?
Courtney Lee, another good one. That is also correct. Back to Keith.
Let's do Nick Calathis.
Nick Calathis is correct. Andrew, what do you got? Andrew, there's only 6 names to go. Got 8 of the 14.
Was John the tackle box lure on this team?
Woo! Yes, he was, Andrew. Back to Keith.
All right.
Still follow John Lure on Instagram for some reason.
Why?
I don't know idea.
14-15.
That's right.
Vince Carter.
Yes, you got it, Keith. Back to Andrew.
I had to make sure I got my years right. I was like, all right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Vince Carter. Goodness. I can't remember if this guy was on this team. I don't think he was. Tayshaun Prince, was he on that team?
Tayshaun Prince? Andrew, he was not on that team, which means
he's part of the Jeff Green trade.
He's part of the Jeff Green trade. See, that's that's why I felt so uneasy. I knew that he left the team at some point.
Yeah.
Keith, do you want to show off any other names you just want to throw out there?
Beno Udrih.
Yeah.
Oh,
Three more. Trying to think. Are we still?
One was a guy who played in the game just last night on Thursday night.
Oh, JaMychal Green.
JaMychal Green.
Green.
That's funny. I've actually erased the JaMychal Green memory.
It's the Jay Green thing going on that season with the box scores.
Yeah, we had they reunited on the Nuggets, the Jay Greens, I believe.
Yep.
The only other 2 names, one a guy I was kind of hyped for in the draft, Jordan Adams, and then Russ Smith.
Oh wow! I would have. I'm glad I stopped talking because I would have struck out on trying to remember Russ Smith and Jordan.
Russ Smith. Wow.
All right, Keith, you've got the lead and you have control of the board.
Number two.
5 different rookies have gotten NBA minutes for the Grizzlies this season. There are only 2 other teams in the league this season that have given minutes to 5 different rookies. Who are those teams? And you get 1 point per correct answer.
Wait, how many other teams are there?
There's only 2 other teams that have played 5 different rookies this season.
Wow.
My first guess will be the Rockets.
That is correct. The Houston Rockets, Darius Days, Trevor Hudgens, Ty Washington Jr., Jabari Smith Jr., and Tari Eason.
Did you make up those first two names?
Wow.
Darius Days, Trevor Hudgens. I did not.
Okay. All right. Take your word for it. Oh man. Let's go with I don't know. I'll say Thunder.
The Thunder. That is incorrect. Andrew, who's the only other team to play 5 different rookies NBA minutes this season?
5 is a lot. Goodness. Indy? I don't know.
Indy, good guess, but it's incorrect. It is the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh,
Jeremy Sohan, Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley, Dom Barlow, and Julian Champagnie.
Oh boy. All right.
Shouldn't
Keith
even
is
count.
up
2-0. Andrew, you have control of the board.
All right. Number 3.
Question number 3. I don't know if this one's easy or hard. Well, actually, I know it's not easy. Okay. Steven Adams currently has an offensive rebound percentage of 19.7%, meaning he grabs nearly 20% of all available offensive rebounds when he is on the court. The last time someone played as many minutes per game as Adams and had an offensive rebound percentage higher than 19% was in the 1997-98 season, when this player, who made his only All-Star appearance, accomplished that feat. Who is the player?
Oh my gosh.
So you know he was an All-Star in the 97-98 season. That was the only
one-time All-Star?
One-time All-Star.
One-time All-Star. 97-98. 5th grade.
Yeah, narrow it down for what grade you were in. That'll be helpful.
Oh boy. Charles Oakley? I have no clue.
Before I give you the answer,
yeah,
I have rerun my analysis of 30-point games in Grizzlies history.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
John Morant is still number 1, 53. Number 2, Sharif Abdul-Rahim with 34, which means Keith gets a retroactive.
I need this week.
So now Keith
is
up
back
4.
To Secaucus, and they changed that 2 to 3.
Wow.
And bad news for you, Andrew. Whatever you just said, wrong. That was incorrect. So, Keith, you have a chance to steal another point here. Go up to a commanding 5-0 lead.
Did Antonio Davis was it Dale Davis? Did one of those guys make an All-Star game once? I'm going to go with either Antonio or Dale Davis.
You know what? I'll give you both of the Davises because neither of them is correct. It was actually Jason Williams.
Oh, not white chocolate. The accidentally shot my limo driver. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. That's a hard
That was a good question. Wow.
Okay, Keith, you have control of the board in a commanding lead.
I'll go with number 8.
Boy.
Question number 8. Jaren Jackson Jr., currently averaging 1.5 threes per game and 3.2 blocks. There is only one other player in NBA history to average at least 1 3-pointer and 3 blocks per game for an entire season. Who was it?
Rafe LaFrentz.
That is incorrect.
Thought I'd try to say it confidently.
You said it so confidently that I started to search for Rafe LaFrentz on Basketball Reference.
Yes.
What's the stat? What's the stat again? 3
so
blocks?
for an entire season, this player hit at least 1 3 per game and got 3 blocks per game. Now, Keith, I am looking it up right now. Rafe LaFrentz did do it in Denver, but he was traded that season to Dallas. So his total stats for that season, he did not do it. But a very good guess. Very good guess.
Should have specified.
Manute Bol?
Manute Bol. No, it's someone much more recent. It was just a couple seasons ago. It was Miles Turner.
Oh, wow.
Turner.
Oh, durr.
Only other one to do it. All right, Andrew, you got to start making up ground now.
This is not good. Number 4.
Question number 4. Ooh, I don't know if this will be the one. Several Grizzlies players have official nicknames listed on basketballreference.com.
Boy.
Which of the following is not an official nickname for a Grizzly player? I'm going to give you 5 nicknames. 4 of them appear on Basketball Reference. 1 does not. They are Brandroid, Big Body Roddy, Jitty, Duck, G12. Again, that is Brandroid, Big Body Roddy, Jitty, Duck, G12.
Brandroid.
That one.
I'll say Brandroid. I just can't imagine that's a nickname of anybody.
Okay, fine. All right. I guess it wasn't that hard. Yeah, it was Brandroid. That's not real.
I was like, I've never heard that. Wow.
I searched for Brandon Clark nicknames, and there was some Reddit thread, and the guy was like, Brandroid. You got to do Brandroid.
Wow. It's a hilarious name.
Good enough for me.
Yeah.
Okay, Keith, you still have a lead, but Andrew has halved it.
Yeah.
Two questions left.
Number 6.
Question number 6. What is Steven Adams's career high in points in a single game? Now, before you answer, you get to pick who answers first. So if you let Andrew answer first, you just have to go higher or lower, or you can pick first and he goes higher or lower. If either of you get it exactly, though, you get a bonus point. So a little danger in letting Andrew go first.
Well, yeah. So then Andrew could. Right now, I'm looking at worst case scenario. It would be a tie. I think.
Yeah, it would be 4-4 going into the final if Andrew got it exactly right.
So I guess
he would get his 1 point plus a bonus point.
Well, I guess maybe there could be a bonus point on the next question too. But
maybe you never know.
I'll play it safe, and I'm going to say, also because Andrew, with the Thunder connection, maybe
that's
he remembers,
true.
maybe he was
Risky.
there in the building. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess on the exact number.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 25 points.
25 points. Andrew, would you like to go higher or lower?
I'll say higher.
I'll say higher. Exactly.
I'll say
Andrew's
higher.
going higher. Steven Adams, best game of his career. He scored 27 points, which is higher than 25. And that brings us to our final question.
Wow.
Andrew now down by 1. And if you are a loyal listener and you heard when we had Pelicans week, a question like this came up. If you look at the first and last names of all the players on the Grizzlies roster, Andrew, there are only 3 letters of the alphabet that do not appear in any Grizzlies player's name.
Okay.
What are those letters? Now, there's 3. You could get 3 points here. So, for instance, just to help you out a little bit, Zaire Williams. Okay, that takes care of Z. So it's not Z, but there are 3 letters in the alphabet that do not appear in any Grizzlies player's name.
Wow.
1 point per correct answer. Andrew.
See, they've got the ZYX guys.
That's why it's such a great question.
Which is
I love when teams have a Z guy and an X guy.
Golly, Al. This is so hard. I'm just going through the letters of the alphabet in my head.
So hard and so dumb.
Just thinking of
letters.
Is there an F guy? The Lofton? Yeah, there is. Oh boy, Al.
I can hear you stalling, Andrew.
Is there a G? Is there a G man?
Andrew, there is not a G man, which gets you a point. You are now even with Keith.
Okay.
2 letters remaining. Can you get one of those letters? Now, even if you get one of those letters and you miss the other one, Keith could still tie it up. So this is still anyone's game.
Is there a Q? I'm trying to think. Is there a Q?
Andrew, there is not a Q. That's another point you have pulled ahead of Keith. Now, you could win it all right here if you can give me the final letter that is not in any Grizzlies player's name. 1 remaining letter. If you get it wrong, Keith will have a chance to steal for 1 point, tie it up, which would send us into sudden death.
Okay.
Thinking of all those letters, 26 of them. You've narrowed it down pretty well, Andrew.
Is there a U? Is there a U? A U guy?
Andrew? There is a U guy. Luke Kennard.
Oh, duh.
Which means Keith has a chance to steal for 1, sending the game into overtime.
All right. I'm running through them. Still running through them.
Referring to letters of the alphabet?
Yeah. I'm
Yes,
running through
yes,
letters of
yes,
the alphabet.
Yes.
Takes me a while.
There's a lot of them.
At least 26 seconds.
This is insane.
It is insane.
It's not insane. Totally valid question. Everyone knows the alphabet.
That's true. Everyone does know the alphabet. Maybe not everyone.
Maybe not. My son, he's only 10 months old, doesn't know it. Dummy.
Little dummy.
Yes, I keep thinking of letters and they keep showing up.
Hey, we can edit a lot of this out. So take your time.
Oh, okay. All right.
Think about it. I want you to feel confident
No
in your
time frame
answer.
needed. I mean, it's not cheating to write the names out, which I've done, right?
I suppose not. I did not state any rules, so you're free to do whatever you want.
All right. Are we missing a P?
Keith? We are missing a P, which brings us to 5-5 sudden death question.
Oh, no.
Wow.
All right, here we go. This is the final question. This will decide it all. Ja Morant has hit 1,163 career free throws, 7th in Grizzlies franchise history. We are going to name the other 9 players in the top 10 for most made free throws in Grizzlies franchise history. Vancouver does count, to clarify. So we'll start with Keith. Keith, give me a name, someone who hit a lot of free throws.
Mike Conley.
That is correct. He was number 3. Andrew.
Zach Randolph?
That is correct. He was number 5. Back to Keith.
Rudy Gay.
Rudy Gay, number 6. Back to Andrew. Career free throws with the Grizz.
Pau Gasol?
Pau Gasol, number 2, Andrew. Back to Keith.
Marc Gasol.
Marc Gasol's number 1, 2,701. Andrew. There are 4 names left.
Sharif Abdul-Rahim? Is he on the list?
Sharif Abdul-Rahim, is he on the list, Andrew? He is on the list at number 4.
Wow.
Number 8, number 9, and number 10 are still out there for Keith. Can he get one of them?
OJ Mayo?
OJ Mayo, is he in the top 10 of Grizzlies franchise history for most made free throws? He is not, which means Andrew wins the week. The other names: Stromile Swift, Bryant Big Country Reeves,
really?
Hakeem Warwick.
Whoa! Those are some
Hakeem
names.
Warwick has more free throws than OJ Mayo? Blows my mind.
I feel confident on this one. I'm looking at the screen.
No, I believe you. I believe you.
That is
824.
Well, Keith, it just feels fitting that we ended Grizzlies week with another L.
Man,
boy,
picking up that L.
Go listen to Grits and Grinds. It's a great podcast. I actually listen to it all the time. It's a great show. Keith does a great job. Listen to Fast Break Breakfast as well. Another great NBA show. Listen to Keith on the Daily Ding recap every single Monday with Dave DeFore. It's very good. I enjoy all of Keith's podcasts, so you should too. Keith, thanks so much for joining us.
Today's show is brought to you by Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/NBA Show 22 for more information. What's better than finding quality candidates? How about finding them instantly? For a powerful hiring partner, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. You hate waiting? Indeed's U.S. data shows over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. Something I love about Indeed is that it makes hiring all in one place so easy because of Instant Match. Candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who only see it in search, according to U.S. Indeed data. Indeed knows that when you're doing everything for your company, you can't afford to overspend on hiring. Visit Indeed.com/NBA Show 22 to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/NBA Show 22. Indeed.com/NBA Show 22. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
All right, Andrew, that was Grizzlies week. It was a tough one. Let's hope that it's better for whoever the next team is going to be. And we still have a lot of teams to choose from. You know what? We still haven't gotten the Kings, Andrew. The Kings. This amazing season, the wheel has deprived us of the Kings this entire time.
Come on,
There's
wheel.
14 teams remaining. Let's spin the wheel and see who we get. Next week on the Wheel of Fandom, we will be talking about the Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors.
Oh, I feel like the wheel is primed to crush another team.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Golden State Warriors. That'll be great. That'll be fun. Well, I got to see them up close and personal this past week, which was a delight. So I'm excited to talk more Warriors.
Oh my gosh, Andrew, second week in a row, every single game is on national TV. Against the Bucks on Saturday, against the Suns on Monday, at the Los Angeles Clippers on Wednesday on ESPN.
Wow. That's a great slate of games. This will be very exciting. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show just like these. This one comes from Tina from Down Under in Australia. Good day from Sydney. The Saturday Slam and Jam is the perfect way to wrap up the week that was in the NBA. Fun, entertaining, and also thorough. A definite must listen each week. Jared, thanks so much for that review. This next one comes from, let's see. Oh, we've already read that one on the podcast. All right.
Okay. Should be the one from that 7th grader. Give us a 1-star review, but love the show.
Yeah, this one does come from JJ Money 830. Says, exceptional 1-star. I'm only a 7th grader, but you guys make my Saturdays a whole lot more fun. My only suggestion is to keep doing what you do to make this world a better place. Thank you. He put 1 star, but I think he meant 5 stars. But if you did mean 1 star, please let me know why. I would love a further explanation of that. This next one comes from Gorilla Bucketing. 5 stars. Saturday Slam and Jam is the one-stop shop for NBA coverage for casuals and NBA heads alike. That said, I have some thoughts. Voters' focus on impact metrics means the Bucks win exactly 0 awards, and that's good news. Giannis isn't MVP because he's surrounded by great players and replaced by good players. Brook isn't Depoy because he just got one of the best point-of-attack defenders, Drew, and absolutely the best free safety, Giannis, both helping him and preventing the defense from falling off a cliff when he's resting. Bobby isn't 6th man of the year because he can't have an outstanding on-off differential when he's helping carry bench units and is compared to a strong starting lineup. Bud is not coach of the year because a team with this much talent should win 55 games. Horst is an executive of the year because this group has been accumulated over a period of 10 years, including several key moves that preceded him, even if Crowder is the missing piece that unlocks the championship. This team is too good to win any awards because the best team is no longer the focal point of the awards. The marginal impact of each position is isolated and evaluated, and it's tough to see this team sinking if one of the pieces is removed. Hey, shouts.
That's a Bucks fan?
This seems to be a Bucks fan. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if they're like, yeah, and I'm a Raptors fan, you know?
It's like, this isn't a Bucks fan. They're like really into the Bucks, sort of.
Yeah, we got some big issues if this is not a Bucks fan. Yeah, shout out to the Bucks. They don't get enough coverage. And yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that. Last one comes from DeVrazzo. 5 stars. Andrew and Alex, this might seem dramatic, but your show is something I really look forward to every week during a very difficult time in my life. Every time I hear the music and the signature Andrew, what a week it was. It puts a smile on my face. Andrew versus the Beat is the best segment in sports podcasting. Thank you for your awesome work. Thanks so much for that review. And thanks so much for listening to the Saturday Slam and Jam. We will be back next week. So enjoy all of the basketball this week. Man, all the basketball has been so good. Like, seriously, take time to watch because the league is in such a good place. So please go watch basketball, and we'll talk to you guys again next week.